Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to a new video and a new year as well. I hope you spent the holidays maybe not playing as much World of Tanks and maybe spending it a little bit with your family instead. But yeah, welcome back to another episode of What to Do, the video series where we ask ourselves what to do on certain maps. And today we're going to be looking at Serene Coast. Now, Serene Coast is actually a pretty slept on map, I think, because it is the kind of map where you always have something to do, no matter what class of vehicle or what kind of attributes you play towards when you play certain tanks. There are quite nice spots for you to go cool down, to use turret armor, gun depression. There's lots of rocks to hide behind, lots of bushes and trees you can knock over to play towards camo. You can get some long range shots if you're playing like a guerrilla or an STRV. You can play aggressive, you can play defensive. It's just all around a very comfortable map. There's always something you can do to progress the game forward, and I think that is the most healthy kind of map design, where there's always something for you to do. I don't really often find myself in any sort of big stalemate on this map. It doesn't just drag out into 15 minutes. It's usually over quite quickly sometimes, but that's just World of Tanks in 2025, and hopefully not 2026, but we'll see how she goes. Now, in this episode of What to Do, I want to kind of keep evolving the videos as we go along. And there are two new things that I want to try out. The first thing is that I want to give some small examples when I explain certain positions. So you'll maybe see me drive around with a friend or two in a training room for just a couple of seconds, just to kind of showcase some locations that I'm talking about, but maybe not actively using in the replay. So I hope that works out well. And also, I just want to take 1 minute in the beginning here to go into a strat sketch session to kind of draw on the map and talk about how the map generally goes, because I've noticed that when I play with some tomatoes who maybe haven't played a game in a while, that their kind of map sense, like their basic map sense, is a little bit off. They take their heavy tanks to maybe flanks that are not really that important anymore, and the meta has kind of changed over the last 5 or 6 years while they have been taking a break. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop into a strat sketch session and we'll talk a little bit more about the map there just very quickly. So here we are in Strat Sketch. It's just a tool that allows me to kind of draw on the map like this. If you haven't seen it before, I'll maybe put a link to it in the description. If you want to use it for yourself, it's extremely useful. I always use this in tomato training sessions, just to showcase certain positions or rotations, stuff like that. But I just want to go over the general flow of the battle very quickly. So this map is divided into one flank on the left side here on 1-2 line, kind of a middle-ish part, and then one flank on the 9-0 line over here. Now, this flank on 1-2 line is, I'm gonna say, usually the most important one, because the tanks with mobility are the ones that make the most plays, and that is where you want to go if you have a mobile vehicle with a little bit of turret armor and a little bit of gun depression. You want to play the hill in C1 here. So if you have like a Patton, a Centurion, or maybe even something like a Super Conqueror, you can go here and play very efficiently. So a nice thing to do here is that if you have a lot of mobility, is to rush this hill in the early game. And even if you don't have like a lot of turret armor, like maybe you're playing in a Leopard 1, you can still get some early shots in people that aren't as fast as you. So if you're playing against a Super Conqueror, for example, you can get a couple of shots while they're driving up this hill over here. And once they arrive, you don't want to be fighting against a Super Conqueror. then you just have the ability to rotate out again. So mobility, gun depression, and turret armor, C1, go to spot. It's really, really good. The other flank here is more dedicated to just front-facing heavy tanks, you know, Taschenrattes, Type 5s, BCT-70s, stuff like that. 60 PC-100s. You can do, like, the list goes on for quite some time. It features a lot of like tiny ridges where you can use gun depression and just be hold down and defend for a very, very long time. It is a little bit more tricky to play from the south because of this position right here. It offers you a hold down shooting at people over here. And even if you get over pushed, it is very easy for you to fall back very far here and stay alive for an extended amount of time. But yeah, if you're in frontal facing heavy tanks or assault tank destroyers, I would highly recommend going here. Now, the middle here is kind of divided into two separate parts. You have this part on the right and this part on the left. The part on the right, I usually don't go very often because you can just get ambushed from every single direction. There's so many destructible houses, there's so many rocks, bushes, you can just get ambushed everywhere. And it also doesn't offer the best spotting possibilities from either side. So playing middle is something that you can do in the late game if you just have to, you know, bum rush the final enemies to farm a lot of damage in the end game. But other than that, if you're just a Joe average player, I would not really recommend going here in the middle. Now, we also have this bathtub on the left-hand side. Now, this is kind of a position where you're telling yourself either we're going to win the game or I am going to die in this position, because you can drive in here very easily from the start of the game, but driving out is usually what is the problem here. Because if there are people fighting on the hill, or there are people camping in the base from here or here, if you try to escape through these pathways here, or even under the bridge, it's very easy to punish you from either of these positions over here. So this is usually a position. The bathtub position is sometimes a place where I go if we have won the hill and there are a lot of tank destroyers camping in defensive locations like here and here. Then you can go here and you can maybe push bases hold down from here and outspot the tank destroyers. So it's not a starting position, it is a little bit of a more late game aggressive play that you can make. Now the final positions that I want to talk about are these in J3 and also in A7. These are spots that will enable you to defend your cap very, very efficiently, because you have hold down cover, you have bushes, you have rocks in the way. It is extremely easy to double push here and shoot people coming from pretty much every single direction. The same goes for the southern cap. You can reset your base, you can shoot people flanking around, you can defend against people pushing you from the hill. So if you're in a losing scenario and you think that a lot of people are going to be pushing into your base, I would highly recommend ending your game in one of these locations, because the amount of damage that you'll be able to farm, even on, if the game is over and you're going to lose, it's still worth trying to get as high of a score as possible. And you can do that very, very well from these spots. It was a little bit more than a minute, I'm sorry about that, but we're going to go into the replay now and we're going to look at these positions in a little bit more detail. So, welcome to the replay. I picked this game not because it was, 10,000 damage. Once again, we don't feature, or well, if I have like a 10,000 damage game and it is interesting, then sure, we'll feature it, but this replay I used because we kind of went everywhere on the map, which is very useful if you're doing, a map review. So it is quite enjoyable. And yeah, I think we played quite well. So I'm already in good old what to do fashion going to pause the game in, in the first 5 seconds of the battle, because a position that we're not going to be utilizing that much is this defensive position over here. Now we're going to go a little bit into free camera, maybe make my map a little bit smaller as well. And we're going to talk about this defensive position here that we mentioned in the strat sketch part of the video. Now, this spot here is really, really nice. Again, you have lots of trees that you can knock over and turn into bushes. And you have a nice ridge, so if you're in like an STRV or like a hacker, something like hold down with lots of DPM, you can farm tons of shots right here. And one of the positions where you want to start is, or well, not where you want to start, but where you want to go if you're defending, is this tree right here. Because what it allows you to do is you can punish people driving down or pushing from the hill, as we mentioned earlier. And you can also get shots at people just driving into your base. And this is going to happen, this is very likely to happen as well if you're in a late game scenario, because what people tend to do when the game is pretty much over is that they just drive forward to get one more shot of damage. And it doesn't matter to them how much HP they lose, because they just want one more shot. And if you're able to just shoot them driving into you, you know, that is 1,000 more damage for you. You can also play this other side here, where you can shoot the railway tracks a little bit more efficiently. You can also reset your cap very easily from here, because you can just angle up here on this slope, shoot freely into your cap, so that's very nice. And usually what happens here is that you just get bum rushed, because one thing that is quite easy to do is for enemies to kind of push aggressively into the other side of the ridgeline and then go around and counter you. So again, as I mentioned, ending your games here is very, very nice. You do have to be careful, however, that you do not go here too early, because if your team is still fighting here, still shooting over here, and you're thinking, oh no, we're going to lose, I have to go into the defensive position, and you do it too early, then you're just wasting potential, pretty much. So making these rotations at the right time is where skill really, really comes into play. Now, my EBR, I'm pretty sure in the in the beginning here, he was pinging a scouting location that he wanted to use. Now, I'm just gonna let it play here and pretty much just let it speak for itself, because the EBR is using a push over here that is a perfect starting location. You see how he's able to spot the heavies driving into position? If you know that there is a scout tank going to go here, playing this location, or well, behind any of these rocks, in any of these bushes here, is a great way to start your game. Because the side shots that you get are very, very easy. So if you're in like, you know, a Concept 5, for example, or a Gorilla 15, it's like a perfect vehicle here, or an STRV, anything that is quite fast and has a nice gun, you can pick up a ton of damage here. So you'll see that we went to a starting position and we already started with 2000 damage, which is a really, really good start. Now I have a friend here in the bad chat who decided to play this middle position, which is quite risky in my opinion. It's a very bold play, but okay. But he does finish off the EBR, which is very, very nice because now the enemy team doesn't have any scout tanks anymore. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the play that I'm making here because, well, Terra, you were saying that, you know, you want to snipe from the middle here where your platoon mate is. And I know, but there's a method to the madness, okay? So let me explain. The reason that I'm pushing this outer part here is because I want to make a play. Okay, well, Terra, obviously you're making a play, but why are we making the play? Well, we're making the play because all of the enemies, or well, most of the enemies have already been spotted. And my friend in the bad chat has pretty much cleared out this entire area. So if I were to guess where the remaining enemies would be, like the E100, I would think that he's sitting in the back somewhere. The Concept 5 probably sniping in the back somewhere. Same with the FE183, sitting in the back, waiting for somebody to make a little bit of a greedy play here. So me pushing here is not normal, but we're allowed to make it together with our EBR called Meat Slap. Huge, huge new username. But we're allowed to play here because there are no enemies holding the angle. And let's just take a little bit of a look where our friends are playing. So stop right here. So the 60TP is playing in the hold down location that we mentioned earlier. Behind these trees here, you are sometimes hidden from your enemies as well, because you can double bush here. I7, side scraping on this corner, side scraping, playing mouses, playing Taschenwort. This is very easy to do here because you can just peek around corners and just blast people, which is very nice. And our BCT-70 is sitting in the back, and again, you might not be able to see it here, but if you drive here yourself, you'll be able to see that there are a lot of ridges here and a lot of trees where you can be either hidden or use your gun depression very efficiently. So digging you out of here is extremely annoying. Now, we kind of drove past this spot, but you'll see it later, is this camping position in the back here. Used to defend, very, very important use of words here, defend the heavy flank. The enemy team has one as well. It's this little island right here, used to defend the heavy flank. I'll get into why that is important in just a hot minute. But what are we doing here? We're making some very cheeky peaks here. This is not something that you're going to see most of the time. But I didn't really want to take my tank to the hill because we're a sniper. And there was a Dravik and a Centurion and a Patton and a Stinger and a lot of tanks that can play that position way better than we can. So when you're picking a starting position, you want to always play to the most important attributes of your vehicle. Attributes of my vehicle are high alpha damage, nice shell velocity, good pen, nice accuracy, so obviously we want to play from range. Now, you'll see me make a very smart move here, because our heavies are kind of just dying, which is fine, you know, that's okay. But we have to adapt to the situation by going into a very important location. And we're going to talk a little bit about this spot right here, because it is very important to mention why we are here and why we are here right at this moment. So, why are we here now and why didn't we start off here? Because you sometimes see tank destroyers like DBVs, Gorillas, SDRVs, sometimes even like E3s for some god-awful reason, sit in this location because it is a tank destroyer location or a sniper location. You want to have lots of people in front of you pushing into you. But what happens 50% of the time is that your team is actually competent and that they just win the heavy flank, right? If my BCT and my EBR and me and my the other person, my IS-7 here, would have killed all of these people, me starting here would have been useless. I would have had basically no shots, whereas now I can fire on reload on a mouse, which is chef's kiss. It's really, really good. So the reason that we're here is that we're defending. We're not camping, and camping is kind of a you're playing very defensively, but you're doing it too much, right? Like you're just hindering yourself in getting a nice score, because the spot where we started here was very proactive, and we played together with our light tanks, which is what you want to be doing if you cannot shoot crossing yourself. So when you realize that your heavy flank is losing, rotating over here in just anything pretty much, of course mobility is a huge benefit here, and then playing this ridgeline and using these bushes, you'll see that I use this tiny bush in front of me just to double push against the mouse so that he doesn't spot me. And this is why this spot is so strong, because I have one person in front of me. Now, if I would not be here, they could just hold W and kill him, right? But me being here, just my existence, is creating such a fear factor for the enemy team that they cannot do anything. And it's a little bit of a bait that when you win the middle part of the heavy flank, right here, that you want to keep driving forward. And that's when you want to catch people out of position by going here and just farming them in the face, like we're doing right here. So, what has happened on the other side of the map? We have lost the hill, and maybe I should actually fly over there now. Just give me one quick second. We're gonna fly over here now because we do actually have some people in the position where we want to talk about. Nice pause moment right here. And it's this tiny bush over here. Now, this again is not a starting position, it's a defensive position. You don't want to sit here from the beginning of a game, especially not if you're playing, you know, like a Yak Panzer or something. You want to go here if you think that you're going to lose the hill. And why do you want to go here? Well, because when people overpeak the hill, like driving up here and driving up here, your allies in the low ground are great spotters and also a little bit of a bait, because people want to shoot the things that they can see right in front of them, but they will not think about all the tank destroyers and medium tanks that are playing in the back and that will shoot them once they overpeak here. So really, really good defensive position. But again, as we mentioned, it can be countered, because if you lose the hill, you can play the middle, and if you play the middle, you can drive up on these roads like this concept here is doing. Maybe a little bit too aggressive of this guy right here. But then you will have the opportunity to spot out and counter these positions, which is what I think is... it's really important in a map to be able to have the option to counter certain positions, even preemptively, before you even spot these people. But we're still here. I'm trying to help out my BZT for as long as possible, but he is getting absolutely clapped. He does pick up the mouse, however, and I think he's unfortunately going to die very, very soon. Yeah. The WZ makes an incredibly aggressive peek, and he gets penned once, and I peek here just because he turned into a one-shot. If he would have been a two-shot, I might not have taken the risk here, because I was completely clear or aware that the 60 TP could shoot me, but I still wanted to peek here just to finish him off. Now, it's 9 to 9. We're quite even on hit points and HP. And I just noticed that I have to apologize for my view range and my render distance disappearing. It's just a bug with the free camera mod sometimes. But yeah, you see that my platoon mate is still in this bush position here to counter the pattern, possibly pushing down, which is completely fine. We have a 113 and a Manticore in the middle, and the 113 is a one-shot, and the Manticore is a Manticore. It's not something that a play that I want to make, because the 60 TP is here, the pattern is here, and there's a lot of enemies here, so we're just driving into a crossfire. I want to clear up a flank and then push through it, so I always have the enemies on just in front of me, and I don't have to, you know, juggle lots of people around me all the time. So I'm telling my platoon mate here, the pattern is a 2-shot, or maybe even a high roll for us. Let's just push him and clear out the hill, so we get the high ground against the enemies. My friend did get a high roll, but just not enough. And, okay, there's gonna be a shot here that, you know, it's gonna be fine, okay? Like, he got RT'd, we only took 1 shot, it was completely as planned. We tracked him for the RE, okay? It's fine. So, we gained control of the hill. Now, the hill, again, is a very, very, very key position. Also, just want to mention, if there are 2 RDs on either team, you're going to get absolutely blasted by RD if you play the hill. Just saying that you're aware of it. Alright. So, the hill. Why is it so important? Well, it gives you high ground advantage. High ground in any strategic game in the history of the world, also in real life, I think. I don't know, I'm not a real life general. But it's very nice to have, because, again, you get the overwatch on all of these kind of like escape points of the middle. And if there are people that dedicate themselves to playing this area and you win the hill, they are completely locked down. Like, they will not get away unless they take at least 1 shot from you in like an average case scenario. But the hill, how do we play it? Well, I just have to mention first that the enemy, or the northern spawn, also has this defensive location that we're talking about here, where my Artie is sitting for some reason. But there are lots of bushes here, and this is also a hold down position. So if you're in like a Badger or an E3, you can even play here. Or if you're a Gorilla or an STRV, something lightly armored, you can also play here because you have trees. So it's a very, very flexible defensive position, and it's mostly used to counter the hill. But again, if you win the hill, you can drive up these roads, play behind these houses, if you're a little bit careful from the enemy base. You can outspot these people, and then the people from the hill, where me and my friend are, can actually shoot the people that are playing here. So, very good, but you need a little bit of assistance to make it work. Now, the hill is quite nice because you can both play here if you have no armor. So I could go here in my Concept 5. And the reason I can go here is because I have speed. If you're in a very, very fast vehicle, you can get here very early and get shots on people that are not very fast. Like, you know, if I am in a Concept 5, for example, and there is a Super Conqueror on the enemy team that wants to go here, I will be on top of the hill while he'll still be driving up here. And this will enable me to get maybe 1 or 2 shots on him and then he will arrive to the hill, but then I will already have the time to rotate out and maybe play in a defensive position or just go to a sniper spot and shoot the middle. Talking about sniper spots, I really like this spot as a starting position from the northern base because of all these bushes that are here. And sometimes you will also be able to punish people that play a little bit too aggressively in the middle, or sometimes peek over these ridges while they are driving to the hill to get some, free shots, and then you can just punish them while they're over peeking. So very, very nice location. Very safe as well. Like if you go here, it's very easy for you to just run back to the base. So yeah. What are we gonna do here? I'm deciding just to push. Maybe a little bit dangerous because there is a 1A3 in front of me and I am in fact a one-shot for him. And, okay. I know the E100 is AFK, okay, but what do you want me to do? I cannot just ignore him, right? So, performing an AFK tank there, I said it. Hate me all you want. Dislike the video. It's understandable. But yeah, we're just finishing off the E100, getting some easy damage in here, and then we're going to be focusing on the 183, which is the next in line. Super accurate high-pen gun, by the way. And there we go. Alright, fantastic. The 183 is gonna die to the Manticore. Perfect example here, actually. I didn't really realize how he died. But again, the Manticore, sneaking up through here, spotting him through the bushes, shooting him in the side, clearing out the tank destroyers, allowing us to progress further forward. Now, there aren't a lot of enemies left. The game is kind of over at this point, but there are still some important locations that I do want to highlight. If you're assaulting this base, by the way, it is very easy to be a little bit too aggressive because this corner, very, very dangerous. There's a little bit of a ridge here that allows people to sit full down. And also, this position that we're going to be talking about in a couple of seconds. But this railway here is quite nice because there is a lot of low ground on the other side. So if you have some gun push and some turret armor, it's very easy for you to play either here or here in this corner and at least spot the enemies that are camping in the base. Or, well, sorry, defending the base. But here, there is not a lot of dangerous vehicles left. And I'm kind of just wanting to drive in. I still have all my hit points, so I don't really care if I take a shot here. Because, again, we just want to trade our HP away. And I am actually going to die here very soon. Sorry, spoiler alert. And I did notice in a previous take that I cannot use the free camera mod if I am spectating my allies. So we're gonna have to come over here and wrap things up before my tank gets destroyed. But yeah, this position here is the equivalent of this southern base defense position. It's just, it looks a little bit different. But it is, in some regards, even better. Because what you can do here is, again, you can knock over a ton of trees. So you have bush cover, you have rocks to create hard cover, and you also have a lot of dips and ridges here. Now, there isn't like a specific recipe on where you want to place yourself. It's kind of something that you want to adapt to depending on where you get pushed from, right? But if you sit here, very easy shots towards people driving down from the hill. Very easy shots towards people driving through this gap here as well. Easy shots to people driving over here from the middle. And also easy shots to people pushing to your cap circle from the heavy flank. So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife in terms of defensive positions. It's just it's really good. You always, if you're winning this game, there almost always gonna be at least one person that just sits there, like an STRV or something that's just been sitting here for like 10 minutes, just wanting to play the end game.
L'abbiamo preso! Carro nemico distrutto! Preso!
So yeah, talking about the heavy flank from the other location, I kind of want to mention this spot here for a hot minute, because it is kind of new-ish. It's kind of been discovered the last couple of years, I think. I have not really have had the need to play here yet, but it is very good from what I've seen. So the thing is that you want to go here to play hold down and farm all the people that are driving into you. And once you notice that you're getting over pushed, you fall back and you play here behind these rocks and bushes. And then you might think, oh no, but now I'm stuck here. Well, you can apparently fall back all the way back here. So the enemies are gonna have to push incredibly far to be able to shoot you over here. So if you have you playing here and a friend of yours on this island, I honestly think that it is impossible to win this flank if you do this. So does that happen very often? No. But can it happen in a perfect scenario? Yes, it can. And we also have a little bit of a church here. I never go here. There is not really a need. It doesn't create any spicy angles or anything like that. Also, something that might be important to mention is the starting bushes over here. So you saw the EPR in the beginning of the battle play in this bush next to this big rock to spot the heavy tanks driving down here. If you get spotted driving down here, by the way, not even 9 times out of 10, just 10 times out of 10, it's somebody sitting here. So if you're in an FV and you get spotted in the back like here, or driving through here, plopping a shot into this bush will net you a blind shot 100% of the time. It's not even close. So yeah, but the north spawn equivalent is this bush right here. Now it is, in my opinion, not as good, because if heavy tanks choose to drive very safely here, and this is something that you should always do, you should never, if you're playing a heavy tank and you want to go down here, I would never ever drive through this middle part and then go like this, because you are going to get absolutely blasted, like the people that I shot here in the beginning. Always want to go all the way back here and then drive next to the water to be able to go to the heavy flank, because your exposure time will be as little as possible. So yeah. And if you're a tank destroyer, playing behind this rock here, or even sitting all the way in this gap, can net you a lot of blind shots, because the light tanks here can also counter spot the people that shoot these people, right? You know, when I fired in this, or behind this rock, I did get spotted. And if you're in a gorilla and you have nice reaction time, you can get a free shot or two, maybe, on some mediums playing this little ridge line here. So yeah. About the middle, I don't really play here. As I said in the beginning, you just want to go here if it's like an endgame scenario, to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. The bathtub, don't go here in like the beginning of the game. I don't think it's worth it. Some other early light or medium tank positions is this tree over here, actually. Almost forgot to mention, this is like one of my favorite zoning positions. You don't even have to knock this tree over for it to count as a bush, by the way. You can just leave it up, because if you knock it over, people will know that you're here, and they will blind fire you. It has happened to me previously, and it sucks. So leave it standing if you want to stay alive. But you can sit here, and you can spot people playing the middle quite aggressively.
Oh.
Also, from the other side, there are some pushes right here where you can go into, and you can spot tank destroyers in the back. You can maybe spot some people driving up to the hill. It gives you a lot of valuable information. This rock here, it's okay. You can knock this tree over to get bush cover over here, and it will maybe allow you to see some light tanks playing here. If people are, you know, memeing in the middle, you'll be able to counter them a little bit, but it's just not as good as this position right here. So yeah, I think that was most of Serene Coast, actually. All in all, this map is pretty good, I would say. As I said, there is something to do for pretty much every single class in the game. And yeah, it's just fun. Like, I never complain when I get this map. I bounce my APCR round on the cheek of a Stinger, which is a T57 heavy from ranked or whatever it's called, and I die. So I could have had a little bit more damage there. I could have penned this shot because my teammate doesn't aim properly. Just a little bit of a shout out there. So yeah, all these nooks and crannies here, they're okay, like, as a last stand position. But again, like, if the Stinger and 60 TP would have played here, would have been way better for them. So yeah. Also, nice last stand positions here. Lots of pushes, lots of hills. But again, if you lose the heavy flank or lose the entire game, people can just drive around you. So it's not really where you want to be in the end. But, you know, if you don't have mobility, you cannot really determine where you want to play most of the time. So, really nice game here. We did like, I don't remember, it's like 7k damage or something. I do admit there was an AFK 100 farm. I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry about it, but what can you do? Anyway, I don't think I missed anything super obvious here, so I really hope you enjoyed this What to Do episode of Serene Coast. I want to put more effort into the episodes themselves, so tell me if you liked it. Also, did you like the intro? Did you like the strat sketch part? I looked at the length of the recording and it was like 6 minutes. I thought it was only gonna take like 50 seconds, but it was a little bit longer. But tell me if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping. Thank you for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Maybe even subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so that would be insane hype. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.